India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently held a 2-day visit in the United States. Mr. Modi held discussions with the US President Donald Trump. Mr. Modi's visit to the United States and the outcome of his visit were keenly followed and analyzed not just by India but by other countries also. Those areas were or which featured in the discussions between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump included defense ties, trade relationship, illegal migration, you know, then national security, etc. Generally, it is believed that the outcome of the discussions or the outcome of the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the United States was positive and inspiring. While staunch admirers of Prime Minister Narendra Modi believe that the visit was a grand success and they expect a tectonic shift in India US relationship, independent observers feel that the visit was a success and tough negotiations are going to take place in the coming days between India and the United States. You know, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is termed as a tough negotiator and a nationalist in the United States. Mr. Donald Trump is also a tough cookie and he is a person who puts interests of America first or before anything else. So naturally, some people expect that sparks will fly when these two leaders meet, but actually that works in a different way because every observer in the US as well as India or any other parts of the world believe that there is a chemistry between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump. And there is a genuine natural friendship between both. And this is expected to strengthen India US ties. Even back in India, Mr. Shashi Tharoor MP from the Congress said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States was a positive one and that helped to remove misunderstandings in certain areas. And he actually welcomed the outcome of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States. So when even an opposition MP opinions like that, it seems we need to believe that the visit was a success. Let's get to the bottom of the whole discussions and Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States. Welcome to Insights. I am Hari Kumar. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself said, his visit actually featured the confluence of MAGA with MIGA. You know, MAGA means Make America Glorious or Great Again. That was a movement started during the campaign of President Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential polls. Similarly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a leader who banks on India First slogan. So here the slogan is Make India Glorious or Great Again. And now naturally it is expected that when two such leaders meet, sparks will fly and they will disagree in many areas. But actually things doesn't work in that way because as one American observer or an analyst put, the conservative government or the Republican government in the United States has got a natural affinity for people who believe in nationalism and who believe in liberalism, liberalism. So naturally there is a friendship, and that way a genuine friendship between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump. And because of this, you know, the relationship between both the countries is expected to get better or strengthen in the coming days. While the stand of the United States on illegal immigration, like United States is against illegal immigration, and President Trump, right from his first day, has started sending out illegal immigrants to their own countries. Though there is some amount of protest in India in the way in which the illegal migrants are deported, generally India also believes that it's not right. Nobody has got the right to illegally enter another country and claim citizenship, because India is also facing the same problem from countries like Bangladesh, then the illegal Rohingya migrants, etc. So actually, there is no difference of opinion between both the countries. And there is the trade is another area where President Donald Trump is expected to act harshly, and he is expected to impose tariffs on goods from those countries that impose tariffs on goods from the United States. But here also, it seems that things are working in a different way in the case of India. India and the United States are expected to enter into talks in the coming days for establishing a free trade relationship. So, in that case, the trade tariffs imposed by India currently on certain goods from United States will be removed in the coming days. So, I think that issue also will be solved in the coming days. Then another issue is, it is the defense ties. India has got very strong defense ties, and that too time-tested relationship with Russia. Even now, around 60% of the defense, the weapons and other defense equipment imported by India is from Russia. Nowadays, of course, India has started importing certain equipment from the United States, including drones. India has actually struck an agreement with the United States on importing Predator drones. But at the same time, still Russia is the main source of weapons for India. And the US actually wants to replace it. And President Donald Trump announced that he's going to sell more weapons to India, state of the art weapons to India, including the F-35 Lightning aircraft fighter jet made by Lockheed Martin. This F-35 fighter jet is sold only to NATO countries and a few countries outside, like Australia, then Japan, Israel, etc. But he says eventually India will become eligible to get that also. So here actually I have a different opinion, because the US weapons comes with a rider, and if you buy weapons from the United States, actually that is going to affect your foreign independence in foreign policy adversely. So India needs to think about that, and India needs to work on that. And anyway, I don't think all on a sudden India is going to source huge quantity of weapons from the United States, and India is going to trash or ditch Russia very soon. I think that cannot happen, and that won't happen also. The problem with the United States is the US actually is now the only superpower in the world. And the US firmly believes that what is good for the United States is good for other countries also. To be more precise, the US actually believes that only that is good for the United States is good for other countries. You may be remembering the dictum of the diplomatic expert for the father of US diplomacy, Henry Kissinger. He actually believed that those who are not with the US are against the US. So this is the policy of the US, and actually entering into a closer defense ties with the United States is going to create problems. Exactly that is why France refuses to buy or jointly develop weapons with the United States. Actually, France was invited by the US for in developing F-35 Lightning, but France refused. And they are going ahead with their own weapons program, whether it is in fighter jets, submarines, or other areas. So I think it would be wise for India to keep the US at a hand's distance when it comes to defense ties. Now let's analyze about the trade ties between India and the US. Of course, the US is the biggest trading partner of India at present. Last year, that is 2024 calendar year, India, the US trade was around 120 billion US dollar worth. If you take the financial year, I think that is going to be say around 190 billion US dollar. And the aim of both leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as President Donald Trump, is to increase the US India trade to around 500 billion US dollar in the coming days. I think the aim is to achieve the target by 2030, that is 2030. So I think both countries are going to benefit from it. The trade ties are definitely going to improve because now the trade is heavily in favor of India because India has got a trade surplus of say around 40 billion US dollars, and India actually has expressed its willingness to buy petroleum products from the US. So if India does that, I think that will go a long way in bridging the gap between the US imports from the US. So that will solve a great deal of complaints raised by the US on the trade front. When it comes to, say, national security, the US has agreed to hand over Tahaur Rana, who is an accused in Mumbai blast, to India, that issue has been a thorn in the flesh, and you could expect closer relationship between India and US in combating terrorism in the coming days. Actually, US has now put restraints on funding to Pakistan, and with the US, the Trump government stopping or abandoning the US aid program, which actually benefited people like George Soros, who are believed to be part of the deep state in the US and who are interested in creating trouble in other democracies like India, and that is going to help India in a big way. I think when it comes to combating Islamist terror, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump share the same view, and you could expect more cooperation with the US in the coming days, and definitely Pakistan is going to bear the brunt. But at the same time, we need to realize that US is a country which has got permanent interests, and don't expect the improvement of relationship in certain areas to reflect in other areas also. Difference of opinion will be there in many areas, but generally the ties are going to improve. If India and the US are able to strike a free trade agreement in the true sense and implement it in the coming days, I am sure that there will be a quantum leap. It will help India to progress. It will eventually lead to transfer of technology, which the US has been reluctant for on that front. But if the private sector, the cooperation or joint ventures between private sector of both countries improve, definitely I think transfer of technology to some extent is going to take place. So generally, let's believe that ties between India and the US are going to improve. And let us touch on another issue also, and before winding up. The present Trump administration has got several Hindu, including, the head of the intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Then, when it comes to, there is the Kash Patel is also there, FBI director. So, I think there is representation for the Hindu viewpoint in the US. And on that front, actually, that is going to help India. And for example, when it comes to the human right violations on attacks against Hindu minority in Bangladesh, US has expressed their disagreement. And it's not going to be easy for Islamist forces to silence the US in the coming days. And with the US taking a more active interest in bringing peace in the Middle East, India can expect solace on that front. And nowadays, and I'm sure that US is not going to be a haven for terrorists or extremists who work again, who try to destabilize India. That's for now. Meet you with other updates in the coming days. Till then, goodbye.